Huh. Wonder why that setting's different. It doesn't seem to let me change live chat to top chat anymore. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Video game design. I look like I just rolled out of a moving vehicle. All right. So, the three designs that I was playing with last night would be a swimming level, a Tetris-like game. Oh, and the weird one, the sort of like forced side scroller situation that I was playing with, which was designed around the idea of the player's object, the player's character, I guess, is able to be transformed from a solid into a liquid. By tapping the screen. And that helps it get through or around objects. So what I've been thinking about since then are ways to make that more cohesively into a game. So swim level, Tetris, and what is it, T2000? Liquid Metal something or other. Liquid Metal would be a good game name. I think I may use that. The swim level, I kind of want to make the main character like a squid. And I think it's going to be like a anthropomorphic squid girl. I guess that makes some sense. And I haven't figured out what I'm doing for the Tetris or Candy Crush equivalent. I got to think through that one a little bit further. But the idea I have for the Liquid Metal game is to make the playing field as it moves towards you have sort of a maze-like aspect, and you've got to size it right. You've got to size it so that as the character is moving across the board, the screen on a cell phone or whatever, as the character is being forced to move, you can move them forward, up, down, back. I don't think I'm going to do back too much, but the screen itself is going to be able to move. It is just going to force the movement of the screen gradually to scroll to the side. As it scrolls past, you've got your piece that you can move by dragging it anywhere on the field. And then a tap, either on a button, like on this side, or center of the screen, causes the center character to transform from maybe, I don't know, maybe a sphere, a ball, a metal ball, into lots of metal balls or droplets. Just go, and then where you do that can help you squeeze through areas you wouldn't otherwise be able to get through. And it's going to be doing that through it's essentially like a syringe. If you have a hallway down the middle of your screen, just for saying, like you have a wide open area and then it gets narrow at a point smaller than the ball can fit through. If you get to that crux where it shrinks, the opening shrinks past what you can get through, and you tap, it turns to liquid, and the pushing of the screen squirts you down that little bit of tube. And I think that would be one way to do that. I think also having the character, like if you come across a bunch of, say, nails put across the middle of the screen with gaps between them too small to fit through, again, turning liquid and then having that edge of the screen push you through that area. I have to figure out whether or not if you do that, like you tap it once or you double tap in the middle of the screen and you liquefy and you stay liquefied for a count of 5 to 7 seconds. Or if you have to keep tapping to maintain that liquid state, and then when you're through the area, you let go and then control the movement again. Because that's the thing. I think if you're in the liquid state, I don't think you get the option of moving up, down, left, right, forward, back kind of situation. In the liquid state, you can only be squeezed down the course of the track. In the solid state, you can pick your path. You can move it so that you can catch. And that's where making it a maze is important. Because if you could solve the whole path by being liquid and just letting the screen push you through it, that's not a fun game. But having to choose between solid and being liquid and fitting through places, or choosing the path that you're going to get on, that's more of a game. That's a challenge. That's a trial and error kind of thing. And if you do it right, if you time the movement of the screen right, and you set it up so that the movement of the screen is slow enough and the length of the screen is long enough that you can see the consequences of choosing a particular path. So you can see, like, when it meets the halfway point of the screen, you can see all the way to the end of each of the paths in front of you. And knowing that, 2 of the 3 paths in front of you are going to dead end lets you choose the right path when you've barely got enough space to choose that path. If you're at the top left-hand corner of the screen and you've got 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom, and it gets to midway on the screen and you see that the one on the top dead ends, the one in the middle goes through, and the one on the very bottom dead ends, you've got seconds to get down to the one path you want to take. So I think that's the way I'm going to do it. If I can figure out how to get all those things to work out that way, I think that's what I'm doing. So a metal sphere, and I think I'll call it liquid metal. Liquid metal something I got to figure out. And then the swimming level one is, I feel like I want it to be adorable and still kind of fun and challenging. So it's a variant, to a certain degree, it's going to be an equivalent of working with a variant on Flappy Birds. But instead of a bird, it's a squid you've got to tap to get her to swim. And she has you're going to encounter obstacles that you have to swim around. And there may be enemies which you can then squirt a cloud of ink to cover your escape. That's something worth looking into. Figuring out if I could do a cloud of ink mechanism and see how that potentially affects. So it would essentially be like a stun. So long as the cloud of ink is there, it's a stun effect for enemy pieces. So they're lost. They come to a stop and they're puzzled until the cloud dissipates. And it's your job at that point to swim around and get around and away before they become unstunned or it dissipates, essentially. So I think that's what I'm going to sort of do there. The character should be very kind of it's sort of like a mermaid, but instead of a fishtail, a squid tentacle mess. You're gonna have squid have 8 limbs. They've got they have no 10. They have 8 regular limbs and then 2 long ones with pads at the end of their hands. So doing it sort of like the mermaid centaur satyr approach to it, so that the top half is mostly human looking and then the bottom half is the creature that they are. So the bottom half being squid, but I do kind of like the idea of the coloration and no hair. So it's going to be a little bit more like a rubber pink. It would almost be like girl out of gum, is the way I'm envisioning it. And the way squid move is to suck water in and blow it back out. And so that kind of works with the tapping motion. So you tap and it's a pull water in and then jet it out. So it moves you forward in jetting motion. So jet, jet. So every time you tap, it jets you a little bit further up the course. I don't know if I want to do horizontal or if I want to do vertical. I think I want to do vertical. And I don't know what the obstacles are going to be yet. Do I do like moray eels popping out of holes in the side of the pathway? Maybe. Maybe some sticking out chunks of coral you have to swim around. I think that's pretty much all I need for that, right? Just see how far you can get. That's not satisfying. It's also not in tune with the cutesy nature of what I'm looking to do. I think part of what I want to try to do with that is like there's a goal to it. Like something like Flappy Birds, it didn't have an end goal. It was just to see how far you could get, how high a score you could get before you died. And that's sort of not what I want to do with this game. I don't want it to be a game of how far can you get before you die. That's not what I want to do. Oh, come on. I don't want to have to win the whole game around this aspect of it. I do feel like the moray eels, maybe electric eels? So instead of biting you and eating you or anything like that, they zap you. Maybe. So electric eels, maybe. Does that even make sense? Do electric eels exist in the ocean? I thought they were a freshwater. I'm going to have to figure that one out. All right, I'll have to figure something else out. And then the objective you're trying to go for would be a goal you're trying to reach. And I think I can do a couple levels, 2 or 3 levels. So maybe it's trying to get from point A to point B, Y, and then see, I didn't want to make these story-based games, partly because I tend to do this too much and make a big involved setting with a deep, long story that can't be made in this simple little game that I'm working on. So I gotta figure this out. And my digestive system's pretty angry at me tonight. I don't know what I did to it, but I did something. All right, so Squid Girl, Ocean, point A to point B 3 times in a row. What is she after? What does she want? What would the player want that doesn't involve building a huge world building event? Like, I could build a world building event for this story. I don't think that's conducive to doing a quick, simple, fun to play game. Maybe I'm overcomplicating this. I'm doing that kind of thing where it's a race to get to a thing because if you don't get there, you die kind of situation. Maybe it really just needs to be something goofy, cutesy, simple. She has a couple of errands to run. She has to go pick up her pet sea cucumber or something at the pet store, and that's where she's headed. And your time from start to finish is your score for the level. And nothing kills you, it just slows you down. It can hold on to you, it can trap you, it can shock you, and then you can't move for a second or so. And the longer it takes you, the lower a score you get. I think that's actually a better way to do the motivation to get from point A to point B. I may change the fact that she's picking up a pet sea cucumber or something stupid like that. Maybe it's got to get home from school in time, or you're grounded and you want to go out with your friends on the weekend. There's something super innocuous, but leads you to that sense of urgency for the character to get to the end. All right. That's a little more feasible. I got to figure out like the justification at the end of it, but and then so that's 2 of them. I've sort of figured out what I'm trying to do. Then it just comes down to trying to do it this week. The 3rd one, I'm not even sure yet. It's supposed to be like a Tetris-like game or a Candy Crush style game. One where it's patterns and just a score for making the patterns work. I don't know what I'm doing for that. I got to really sit down and think about that a little bit. Because I know I've always enjoyed doing some of those types of games. Because I don't have to pay attention to any story elements. And that's one of those things where you can just ding away at it for a bit. Now, admittedly, I do it I probably enjoy it for like the first month after I've discovered it, and then I don't ever play it again. Like, I'm done. I don't need to keep wasting my time on that. So what theme and what mechanisms am I going to use to achieve that? I don't know. Like, I don't know what I should be doing for that. Like, I can try to focus on the other two for most of the week here, and see what I can get done. But I kind of want to see if I can come up with a simple. I mean, like, Tetris is literally just sets of squares, and the only thing you have control over is left or right. Where does it fall? That's a really simple mechanic. That's a really simple art scheme. And yet, there are people who still play it with enthusiasm today. Candy Crush, it's matching. It's a matching game. Maybe some variant on memory? Oh, that would be sort of interesting. A variant on memory where matching any two makes them disappear and new tiles slide in, taking up that space. That's a mechanism I could play with. Now, the theme for it is the question. What theme do I want to apply to it? I kind of feel like I want it to be a catch a monster or catch a villain kind of thing, where in order to catch them you have to know where both of the pieces are for them. Or could you do more than one of a theme? So if you, that might be tricky to do. If you had, so that would be something along the lines of, if you had a board, each with rows of tiles and columns of tiles, and there's a flash of what every single one of them is, and then they go back over. And if you have, say, 2 red devil faces, and you know they're there and there, you click those. If you have a button, you say like final option, it then makes those 2 flip over. If they match, they disappear, and then the columns they're in drop new ones in. And then as they do that, everything flips over again. And maybe not all at once. Maybe row by row it goes over, and row 1 flips over, row 2 flips over, row 3 and so on, all the way through. When the first one flips over, it flips back before the next one goes up. And so the next round, if there are 3 red devil faces that are on the map, you can then 1, 2, 3 hit the done button, flips them over. And if you have 2 of them right, but the third one wrong, the 2 disappear, the third one folds back over. And you lose a point for guessing wrong? I like this. This might work. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the theme of it. if I'm going to do this game, getting the theme right could make the difference between a popular game and a lame game. Now, I'm probably not going to get it right, but I want to get something that I would enjoy and think would be fun to do. So that's what I got to figure out, the theme for that one. I'll theme it and art it up, I think, myself in a bit. So just to recap here for my own brain, I think I'm going to end at about 30 minutes tonight. The half-hour format works for me, I think. I think that's a reasonable amount of time to do this in. Okay, so the theme for my game, I have to make the tile game, the memory tile. But liquid metal, metal sphere, maze structure, you move left and right, double tap to become liquid. When double tapped, when liquid, you don't get the option to move the character until that liquid situation has resolved. Until you solidify, you can't move it. Only the screen moving can move the character. And do you have to double tap more than once? Do you have to keep tapping to keep them liquid? Maybe. I think having a timer that counts down how long you're in liquid state would be important for knowing if you had to tap again to reset the timer back up. And then Squid Adventures. I don't know what to call that one. That one's just a matter of tap to swim up, keep above the bottom, avoid the obstacles and enemies, for lack of a better term. Oh my gosh. Could she be an underwater pop singer? Oh God, that would be hilariously adorable. She's an underwater pop singer and she needs to go get her instruments, get to the concert, or yeah, get her costume, get her instruments, get to the concert. Those would be the 3 levels or something like that. That would be amazing. And then like the closing credits of the game could literally be Squid Girl pop concert. I love this idea. I love this. It is adorably fun. I like it. Oh, that could be so much fun. That could be so much fun. Okay, so I got to go write these down. And I need to contemplate a little bit about the theme of the memory tile game. I will be back tomorrow at 10:30 for more game discussion and 8 for discussion of the diet and exercise routines that I've been doing lately. So I'm going to say thanks for joining me. Take care of yourself and have a good night. And then